21F, think my best friend, 21F, has been lying to me, and I don't know what to do. I've been stuck on this for the better part of 2 years, and I don't know what to do. I've discussed it with my mom, who believes she's been lying and giving me the runaround, but I discussed posting on here with her, and we both think it may help to get some outside perspectives. 21F, met my best friend, 21F, of 9 years in early secondary school, and became joined at the hip pretty quickly. I'm quite an awkward and anxiety-riddled person, so she was my main, if not only, friend, and that hasn't really changed. I cared very deeply for my friend. Whenever she needed me, I'd be there instantly, whether it be talking at 3 a.m. on a school night or walking halfway across the city to give her a pickup and comfort. Hell, I even got her a place on my college course after she decided she didn't like her own. She told me her family were horrible, emotionally neglecting her and verbally berating her constantly unless they needed her. I've never seen clear evidence, but I know that doesn't mean it's not true. There was one incident when we were at hers where she said her dad threw a battery at her, but whenever I think back on the memory, I can't see or hear him throw it. But this was years ago. She can go from crying to showing no sign of been crying in seconds, which I've seen firsthand when I've been comforting her about something happening at home, only to be completely fine the next moment when my mom popped her head into the room. At uni, she refused to visit me in my own dorms and housing, saying she didn't like the feeling based on her own time at on-site residence. Only for her to mention offhandedly that she'd visited her friend multiple times in our second year, who had been staying at the same student housing I was currently at, where she refused to go. Keeping in mind it was an hour-round walk between her place and mine, which I'd been doing at night alone. We talked occasionally in first year, radio silence in second year. In third, she made a bit more of an effort, but around half of the time was her asking to borrow money, which she did return when she was paid. Then there's the main case. Back in the middle of secondary, my friend told me she met a guy a couple years older than us, which I did think was weird. We were like 14-15s, but there were other classmates saying they had an older boyfriend too, and that he was in the military. She got really detailed about it, saying his mother passed when he was young, and he lived with his dad and had 2/3 dogs. Apparently, he met her parents, who he hated because of how they openly treated her badly in front of him. Said he had a gay brother who had a partner, and that they were adopting a kid together. She'd always talk to me about them, and I comforted her whenever she was worried about him being out on deployment, and said she often visited his dad, even saying she was in the car with him over a text message. Over the 3 or so years of hearing about them, I never saw a single photo or text message, which I found suspicious. My early childhood friend had often lied to get my sympathy before, one time going as far as lying about moving to another country, which drove me to tears, but that was when we were 8 or 9. So I've always been a bit paranoid about people lying to me. So when she continued to show no photos, even after I asked about them, I got skeptical. She likes taking photos, and I knew there would have been no way she wouldn't have at least taken a dozen photos of the dogs. However, when I half-jokingly questioned whether they were even real, she got a little defensive but played it off, and I got too nervous to bring it up again. It eventually ended when I was 17/18, telling me that her boyfriend and his dad had gotten into a car crash and were in the hospital, which over the course of about a week ended with her telling me they died from their injuries. I comforted her for the following weeks, but it eventually faded as after about a month, she didn't bring up again and hasn't since. When I recently discussed this with my mom, she told me that my friend's mom had mentioned to her that my friend had a record of lying and was worried about how it might affect me. We have a mutual friend that I haven't really talked to since secondary who knew her for much longer and had regular spats with. I'm wondering if it would be a good idea to maybe message her and ask about meeting up, maybe to ask her about it. There are a lot of other smaller inconsistencies and issues I remember, and likely more that I can't remember at the moment. I'm not certain that if the lying is intentional, but if it is and I confront her, I know she'll try to gain sympathy and her guilt trip me about not trusting her. On top of that, she has a history of SH and been at risk of SI before. I don't know if I'm mishandling this or misreading a bunch of things, but really feel like I need more help with this, and any support or advice from someone who's gone through something similar would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.